All right, go ahead.
Hello, radio family. This is Lucas.
Yeah, and this is Jeff. Radio, it's podcast family.
There'll always be radio to me.
Anyway, we just want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We're not recording today because we also are spending time with our families.
And for those who celebrate, happy Saturnalia and happy Sol Invictus.
Whatever it is you celebrate, we hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And so today, what we've done is,
and I cannot believe you're listening to us while everyone is puttering around behind you on Christmas Day.
My guess is that you have decided to take a walk. And while you're walking, you decided that you couldn't think of anything better to do than to take a walk with Jeff and Lucas.
I think someone in your family has gotten under your last nerve and you're back, quote unquote, cleaning. And in reality, you're having another shot of bourbon in your eggnog and listening to us, which I am fully in support of.
That sounds great to me. So today's episode, what it's going to be is I have taken the liberty of thinking through the Christmas story, the Christmas story in the Gospels, specifically Luke and Matthew, and rewriting it in light of where my theology is as of today. So
it's cool.
Hope you enjoy it.
Does it feel like every part of your life is divided? Every scenario, every environment, your church, your school, your work, your friends, left, right, conservative, liberal, religious, secular. It seems you always have to take a side. This is a conversation between a progressive Christian and a conservative atheist who happen to be great friends. Welcome to Living on Common Ground.
Do you think if we met today, we would still be friends?
I don't know, but we're friends now.
A mob is no less a mob because they're with you.
Man, so what? We won a few games. And y'all fools think that's something? Man, that ain't nothing, y'all. And you know what else? We ain't nothing either. Yeah, we came together in camp. Cool. But then we're right back here and the world tells us that they don't want us to be together. We fall apart like we ain't a damn bit of nothing, man.
In the beginning was the Logos, the organizing principle, the pattern woven through all reality, the energy that holds galaxies together and guides evolution toward consciousness and love. This wasn't the beginning of time, because energy cannot be created or destroyed. This was the beginning of something new, energy organizing itself in a way the universe had never seen before. For billions of years, energy had been moving toward this moment. From the Big Bang's first burst of undifferentiated energy organizing into particles, then atoms, then stars. Stars dying and scattering elements across space. Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, all the building blocks of life formed in stellar sacrifice. The cruciform pattern already visible, even there. Then, on one small planet circling an ordinary star, molecules organized into something extraordinary, life. Single cells that could replicate, that could respond to their environment, that carried the pattern forward. And over billions of years, those cells learned to cooperate, to specialize, to form bodies capable of sensing and moving, and eventually, miraculously, of knowing that they knew. The Logos had been organizing toward this all along, toward consciousness, toward beings capable of recognizing truth, creating beauty, pursuing justice, experiencing love. Toward matter becoming aware of itself, energy becoming consciousness. But consciousness emerged fragmented. Humans, capable of such extraordinary alignment with the Logos, kept choosing otherwise. The false self, the illusion of separation, convinced us we were isolated, alone, fighting for survival in an indifferent universe. We organized our lives around fear rather than love, around domination rather than service, around grasping rather than giving. We built systems that blocked energy from flowing freely. We created barriers between people, walls of ethnicity, class, gender, and religion. We hoarded resources while others went without. We forgot We were all configurations of the same fundamental energy, all held in being itself, all woven into one living whole. The prophets kept trying to remind us. They kept calling us back to alignment, to justice, to truth, to right relationship. They kept insisting that the Logos wasn't confined to one nation or one people, that the pattern was bigger than our categories, that God's love couldn't be contained by our boundaries. And then, in a backwater province of the Roman Empire, in an occupied territory where people were waiting for rescue from oppression, energy organized itself in a new way. Mary was young, probably a teenager, betrothed to a carpenter named Joseph. She lived in Nazareth, a village so unremarkable that people joked about whether anything good could come from there. But something happened to Mary, an encounter with the sacred that she could barely articulate, that exceeded her categories, that left her terrified and awed and somehow certain. The Spirit, the organizing principle, the dynamic movement of energy toward consciousness and love, was doing something in her, through her, as her. We don't know exactly what happened. The gospel writers used the language available to them: angels, divine announcements, miraculous conception. But here's what I think they were trying to describe: energy organizing itself into a human life that would be, from the very beginning, perfectly aligned with the Logos. Not God becoming something foreign to divine nature, not a supernatural being putting on a costume, but energy, the same energy that constitutes all reality, organizing into human form without the distortions that usually obstruct us. A human being conceived not in the grasping of the false self, but in complete openness to the Spirit's work. Mary said, "Yes, let it be with me according to your word." She opened herself to something she didn't fully understand, something that would cost her reputation and safety and the comfortable life she'd expected. She became willing to be the vessel through which the pattern could take flesh. And Joseph said yes, too. When he discovered Mary was pregnant and could have quietly divorced her, could have protected himself by exposing her shame, he chose differently. He chose trust over self-protection, love over reputation, alignment with what the Spirit was doing, even when it made no rational sense. These weren't supernatural interventions overriding natural law. These are humans making choices, choosing openness over fear, trust over control, participation in something larger than themselves, creating the conditions where energy could organize into perfect alignment. The census required everyone to return to their ancestral homes to be registered. The empire flexing its power, reminding occupied peoples who was in charge, extracting taxes and obedience. Joseph and Mary made the journey to Bethlehem, approximately 90 miles on foot, while Mary was 9 months pregnant. When they arrived, there was no room. Of course there wasn't. The systems organized around power and wealth don't make space for poor people from occupied territories. Energy was blocked from flowing where it was needed most. The pattern was being violated even as the pattern itself was about to be born. So they found shelter where they could. A cave, a stable, some place with animals where at least they'd be out of the elements. And there, in conditions of vulnerability and poverty and displacement, the Logos became flesh. Think about what this means. The organizing principle of all reality, the energy that structures galaxies, that guides evolution, that holds every atom in existence, took the form of a helpless infant, vulnerable, dependent, completely at the mercy of the systems that had pushed his family to the margins. This wasn't God pretending to be human while secretly having divine powers to protect himself. This was energy organized into human form, experiencing what all humans experience: the fragility of flesh, the dependence of infancy, the vulnerability of a body that can be hurt. The incarnation means matter itself is sacred, that embodiment isn't obstacle but instrument, that physical reality, including bodies that need food and warmth and care, is precisely where divine energy expresses itself most fully. The first witnesses weren't the powerful or the religious authorities. They were shepherds, people doing night shifts, watching sheep, people at the bottom of the social hierarchy, people the respectable wouldn't associate with. They saw something, a light, the gospel says, a message, an announcement that something extraordinary had happened, that the pattern they'd been waiting for had taken flesh. And they went to see. They left their sheep and their work and their place on the margins to witness what energy organizing into perfect alignment looked like. A baby, nursing at his mother's breast, wrapped in strips of cloth, lying in an animal's feeding trough. This is what divine reality looks like when it takes human form. Not power and glory and heavenly thrones, but vulnerability, dependence, a baby who needs to be held. The shepherds recognized something true, that this mattered, that something fundamental about reality had shifted, that the beloved community was breaking through in the most unexpected way. They returned to their work different, the Gospels say, glorifying and praising God, not because circumstances had changed, but because they'd recognized what was real beneath circumstances. Meanwhile, from the east, Magi were following a star. Scholars of the heavens, students of patterns, people who read something in the movements of energy across the cosmos. They recognized that something significant was happening, an alignment, an organizing, a pattern becoming visible. They brought gifts appropriate for a king: gold, frankincense, myrrh, wealth and worship, and burial spices, as if they somehow knew this life would demonstrate self-giving love, would be the cruciform pattern to its ultimate conclusion, would show us that the organizing principle is emptying itself for the flourishing of the whole. They found the child in a house by then, no longer in the stable, still in Bethlehem, still in poverty, still vulnerable to the powers that would soon try to destroy him. And they worshipped. Not a supernatural being dressed as human, but a human being perfectly transparent to the energy that constitutes all reality. King Herod heard about the birth and was threatened. Of course he was. Power always recognizes when something challenges its dominance, when energy starts organizing in ways that don't serve the systems of control. So he did what power does. He tried to destroy the threat. He ordered the killing of all male children in Bethlehem under 2 years old. The Gospels don't flinch from this. They name the violence, the grief, the cost of the pattern breaking through into a world organized around domination. Joseph and Mary fled with the baby to Egypt, refugees seeking safety from state violence. The Holy Family became asylum seekers, immigrants in a foreign land, dependent on the hospitality of strangers. This is crucial. The incarnation didn't protect Jesus from the consequences of being born into systems that violate the pattern. He experienced what millions experience: displacement, violence, the trauma of having to flee your home to survive. The Logos didn't become flesh to fix everything from outside. The Logos became flesh to be with us in the midst of everything, including the suffering caused by systems organized around fear and domination rather than love. So what is Christmas celebrating? What actually happened that matters? Energy, eternal, omnipresent, the ground of being, organized itself into human form without the usual obstructions. The Logos that structures reality took flesh to show us what matter is capable of when completely aligned with its source. The Spirit's organizing work produced a human being who would demonstrate from birth to death and beyond what it looks like to live in perfect harmony with the pattern. This wasn't God becoming something other than God. This was God, understood as the fundamental energy consciousness that constitutes all reality, expressing itself through a human life that could reveal what we're all meant to become. Jesus would grow, he'd learn, he'd develop from infant to child to adult, increasing in wisdom, the Gospels say, not because God was pretending to grow, but because this was genuinely human, genuinely embodied, genuinely participating in the processes that shape consciousness. And as he grew, he would become what evolution had been preparing humans to become: a being capable of perfect alignment with truth, beauty, justice, and love. A consciousness so clear, so undistorted by the false self, that encountering him was encountering the Logos directly. Not because he was ontologically different from us, but because he achieved what we're meant to achieve: complete transparency to being itself. The baby in the manger is the pattern made visible, the organizing principle in human form, energy becoming conscious and choosing, always choosing alignment over fragmentation, love over fear, service over domination. This is why Christmas matters, not because a supernatural being visited Earth 2,000 years ago and then left, but because the incarnation continues, because the pattern is still trying to take flesh through us, because we're all invited into the same journey, dying to the false self, awakening to our participation in being itself, becoming increasingly aligned with the Logos until we too become transparent to the energy that holds all things together. The beloved community that Jesus came to build isn't just Christians or religious people. It's everyone who recognizes their connection to each other, to creation, to the ground of being. It's the system organized so energy flows freely to all parts. It's humanity finally aligned with how reality actually works, how the Logos has been organizing all along. We're still giving birth to this, still laboring to bring it forth, still finding that there's no room in the systems built around power and wealth and domination, still having to create space in the margins, in caves and stables and communities that reject the empire's values. But the pattern keeps trying to emerge. The spirit keeps organizing toward consciousness and love. Energy keeps seeking to express itself through human lives willing to say yes, willing to open themselves to something larger than the false self's fear and control. John's gospel didn't tell the birth story. Instead, it gives us theology. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. This is what happened at Christmas, and what continues to happen. The organizing principle that produces consciousness and love, the negentropy that resists entropy, the pattern that builds order from chaos, broke through into human consciousness in a way that darkness couldn't extinguish. The systems of domination tried to destroy it. They killed babies in Bethlehem. They eventually killed Jesus on a cross. They've been trying to extinguish the light ever since, through violence and oppression and all the ways humans organize against the pattern. But you can't kill the Logos. You can't destroy the organizing principle. Energy transforms, but it's never destroyed. The pattern keeps reasserting itself. The light keeps shining. And every time someone chooses love over fear, service over domination, openness over control, every time someone aligns with truth and beauty and justice, the incarnation continues. The Logos takes flesh again. The Spirit organizes human consciousness toward the pattern. Christmas is celebrating that this is possible, that energy can organize into perfect alignment, that humans can become what we're meant to become, that the beloved community isn't just future hope, but present reality breaking through wherever we let it. The baby in the manger grew up to say, I am the way, the truth, and the life, not claiming exclusive access to God, but revealing the pattern, showing the path, demonstrating what life looks like when lived in complete alignment with being itself. And then he said, follow me, not worship me from a distance, but do what I'm doing, live how I'm living, align yourself with the same Logos I'm aligned with. That's the invitation Christmas offers, to participate in the ongoing incarnation, to let energy organize through us toward consciousness and love, to become what the universe has been moving toward for billions of years. Beings capable of recognizing truth, creating beauty, establishing justice, experiencing love. The Logos became flesh, and it keeps becoming flesh, through you, through me, through anyone willing to die to the false self and live from the true self that's always been held in being itself. That's what we celebrate. That's what the shepherds recognized. That's what the Magi worshipped. That's what Herod tried to destroy and couldn't. The pattern is real. The trajectory continues. Energy keeps organizing toward consciousness and love. And every baby born is another instance of the miracle, another opportunity for the Logos to take flesh, another chance for alignment to happen, another invitation into the beloved community where all flourish together. Welcome to Christmas. Welcome to the ongoing incarnation. Welcome to recognizing that you're held in the same energy that organized into that baby 2,000 years ago, that you participate in the same Logos, that you're invited into the same pattern of self-giving love. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not, cannot, will not overcome it.
Thank you for listening to Living on Common Ground. Please follow wherever you listen to your podcasts and share it with your friends. You can also find a link to our social in the description. The more people we have living on common ground, the better the world will be.